I'm going to show you a case study where we've helped one of our clients to secure dozens of discovery calls booked in the first month after implementing our lead generation and cold email outreach AI automation system. Okay, so this is the client. So they are a very specific game development company. More specifically, they make Discord games. So they're a Discord game development service game studio, specifically targeting the Web3 gaming space. So as you can see, they have a very niche offer, right? So like it's a very specific service that's targeting a very niche market. So that's exactly why they need an automation system, a system that can help them research all the leads to make sure that they're actually qualified, that they're actually the leads that they want to outreach to sell this very specific service, right? And obviously, it takes forever to actually know if the client wants this very specific Discord game service development, if they're even interested in such projects. So that's why we need to build a more comprehensive system more than just doing automated email outreach, right? We need to first do a comprehensive lead generation system that can research the target prospects and make sure that they fit the criteria before doing the personalized email outreach. And the result is that after actually implementing it within the first month, we've got around the response rate is around 5 to 6% overall across multiple campaigns. And we've got them dozens of discovery calls booked in the first month. And we've identified around roughly 1,000 qualified leads for this specific run of campaign. So let's actually kind of dive into why, like behind the scene, how it's working, like how it's going to work, like how do we help them, right? So let's explore a little bit more about the architecture. So we start with the lead scrapers. So this is where the source comes from. So this is where we identify the initial prospect source. So we use tools such as Apollo, Google Maps, and Appify. And Appify, if you didn't know, is just a marketplace where you can have different lead scrapers that can scrape your leads, filling the criteria. So we use these kind of different sources to help us identify, okay, these are the pools of candidates that generally vaguely fit the criteria of what the client is looking for. So this is kind of like the source. We then pass that information into the prospect research. So this is where we extract the information of the leads that we've just scraped. So we looked into things like, do they have LinkedIn? Do they have a LinkedIn profile? Do they have a social media account like Twitter? Do they have a website or domain, right? So all these informations are very useful and we need to collect the data. And we mainly use something called Perplexity, which is a research tool, it's a two-in-one tool. It's a web-based research tool combined with a LLM, a large language model, that can summarize the results of the data. The Perplexity just scraped a research over the internet. So now we have all the information about the prospect, their LinkedIn profile, their social media accounts, and from the website, kind of what the lead company service is, what they sell, what their unique value proposition is, what their background is, what's their positioning in the market. These are all the data that you need to collect about this specific prospect. Once that's collected, when that's done, we then pass it through another workflow where we do a filter using an agent in NAN. So it's basically lead qualification. So the clients have a set of kind of criteria that we need to fulfill in order to, even before going into the generation, right? Before even doing the outreach. So it needs to pass the lead qualification. So based on the information that we just researched, we then pass that information into this agent, into this lead qualification agent, to actually determine a yes or no, right? And also give a confidence score. How confident, based on the set of criteria the client has set, based on the information that we just researched, how likely they're going to be how likely they're going to be qualified for our services, right? So that's what this agent is for. It's kind of the lead qualification filter specifically. And after that, we then have a decision. If it's no, meaning that not qualified, then we just save them in a database. So to be fair, you can do whatever you want with it. You can discard it if you want. Personally, the way that I did it is I just save it in a Google Sheet somewhere because we don't want to get wasted. We have scraped the leads anyway, so we might as well just save it somewhere because they might be useful for other campaigns or other services, and they don't. But if they do pass the filter, then we can think about data cleaning and data processing. For example, things like setting first name, splitting the names into first name and last name fields, ready to get into the email outreach. So think about it like how we, formatting the proper data structure so that it can be fed into an AI code outreach system. Same with email verification. This is very important. This system, most people could probably build it. I've seen lots of resources in the internet, but this is kind of what separates more amateur-ish lead generation system and more professional lead generation system is we do a double verification process. We look at the emails that we scraped of the qualified leads. Remember, they passed the filter. So we say, okay, we have 2 email verifiers. Things like Million Verifier. That's one of them. And you pass it through a filter. And then the end workflow, is the email valid? If it is, great, no problem. If it's not, or it's unknown, meaning that the first email verifier doesn't know if it's qualified, then you pass it on the second workflow, second verified unknown email. If it's actually valid, turns out that the first email verifier doesn't know if it's valid, but the second email verifier knows it's valid, then we keep it. Otherwise, we discard it. So the email is outdated, essentially. So this is kind of some of the thinking that we do in terms of quality assurance and data quality, making sure that the data structure is cleaned, is ready for us to be used in an automated code outreach campaign, and it's also all the metadata such as the email is ready to be used. So we reduce the bounce rate that we will get in a cold email outreach campaign. Once the data is ready, then we go into a step where we do the persona or personalization. AKA we're using OpenAI API to craft a personalized icebreaker. As you probably know, in an email, if I say, hi, XX, right, the name, then you will have you won't go straight into business, right? That's not how people actually email. If you use normal automated emails, maybe, but we're doing it personalized. We're adding some sort of personalization, some sort of human touch into it. So we want to make it sound like an email that would be written by a human, right? Because we don't want to butcher the chance of or even get us banned from spamming this code outreach. We want to make it personalized. We want to make it human. So we say hi name, and then you will have this icebreaker here, which is crafted by the AI. You may ask, well, Edmund, how do you craft the icebreaker? Well, if you've been paying attention, remember, we've done the prospect research. We've gathered the information about this specific lead that we scraped from Apollo, from Google Maps. We've researched the prospect's information using Perplexity or other tools on their LinkedIn profile, on the mainly of the website, but also we scrape some of the results from the social media accounts. So we know some information about the prospect. Now, based on that information, we feed that into an OpenAI assistant and asked it to write a personalized icebreaker, the first paragraph that you would write in an email. And then once you have that, you save that in a variable. Now, everything is then ready to be sent into the cold email outreach. Now, we set up what we call a campaign. We use something called Instantly, but you can go ahead and use something like Smart Lead, right? That's also fine. It's a choice, right? It's just a personal choice. We went with Instantly. You can choose whatever you want. What you can do is then once you have the leads, because remember, once you cleaned the data, you will have like a CSV or an Excel sheet of like a cleaned like customer like database ready to be used. And you would just use the icebreaker that you just generate as a variable, and you would just save that inside the CSV as a field, as a column name, inside this Excel, inside this Google Sheet, whatever, right? Inside the CSV. Then, once you have that final perfect cleaned CSV, you can then feed that into Instantly. You can just upload it into Instantly using an Instantly API. If you look in the docs, I'm not going to kind of go too deep into this video, because this video is just kind of give you like just to kind of show you guys how we think about orchestrating these AI solutions for clients and how we actually think about it in the background. But like, I mean, you can use whatever you want, but like we just use this like Instantly API to just feed the fields that we already have into the campaign within Instantly. Now within Instantly, you will need to do something called email warmups. Not going to go too much into that. There's tons of videos on how to use Instantly. But essentially, you want to set up a few domains, and you would want to warm up these emails. Reason why is because if it's not warmed up, you don't want your email, your cold outreach emails, to be marked as spam. So that's why you need to warm up the emails first. I mean, there's videos on it on how to do it within Instantly. And now, within Instantly, you can set something called a template. So you will have your main message, which is the offer. In our case, it was the Discord game development services, right, that we do. It was a very specific message. But what's different? What sets you apart from general automated emails, like rubbish spam emails, is that personalization part, that icebreaker that we have, which is going to be inserted in the very beginning to make the prospect feels like it's more humanizing. We're humanizing the entire experience, make it add the personal touch. And the thing with Instantly, then you can set up a campaign, you can set up a custom time, and you can do the outreach campaign every day. Let's say you send around 30 emails every day. Now, if the prospect replies, great. Then we do a human in the loop where we then respond to the prospect and we book a call. Well, in this case, the client. So the client actually responds directly, and then funny enough, for this use case, I actually respond like on behalf of the client and then just set up a call with the client. But then normally if you want to set up a client or if you want to set up yourself, like you would want to like actually like respond like yourself, right? As the human. And you book on the discovery call. Great. Job done. Now, if you got ghosted for whatever reason, they didn't respond. Inside Instantly, you can set up something called follow-up sequence. It can be a 3 steps follow-up sequence, meaning the whole email campaign, I will send 3 emails. It can be a 5 step. That means that I will have 5 different steps, and you can set the time interval between each email that you send. So, for example, between the first and second email, I want to set the custom time to be 3 days. Between the second email and the third email, I want to set up for 5 days, right? And you can set up when your working hours are and when you want the emails to be sent based on your prospect's time zone, working hour time zone. So these are all configuration and settings you can set within Instantly. And well, if they get ghosted, then you set a follow-up sequence, I said, and these are all automated, by the way. Like you would basically have like a first follow-up, you will have like a draft written there, like you would have a template that you've already written, and you would then use the Instantly campaign to actually run this follow-up like emails within the follow-up sequence. So hopefully this has given you an idea of the pipeline on how we think about the solutions and how we actually build it for a real-world client that we have. And yeah, this is what I want to cover in this video. And let me know if you've got any questions about the setup. I mean, to be honest, completely honest, like because there's a few like tricks that here and there that we haven't like fully covered in this orchestration, because there's just some things that for us like we're not like ready to share in YouTube just yet. But then at least at a high level like overview, you know like roughly what's going on with this specific solution. So yeah, that's it for me, guys. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.